Okay guys, welcome to this lesson, and in this lesson I'll be walking you through the theme panel that we find under the newsmag or newspaper theme. We will be taking each feature step by step, one by one, so that this doesn't overwhelm you, and we'll try getting through it as quickly as possible so I don't take up too much of your time, so you can further spend more time working on your site. Now we start off with the header. Initially we have the header styles. Okay, now it's up to you to go through these and preview the different styles. Me personally, I stick with the default style. Okay, and I have tested like style 7. Okay, style 7 is alright as well, and style 10. Okay, there's many different options, but if you use the style 10, then what you'll find is, I'm just going to skip a step. If we come over here, we can see the text logos, and if we use the text logo, it only applies to style 10. The rest of the styles will require that you insert an image logo over here. So I'm going to give you an example of style 10. Let's say we use style 10, we use Love Read Health as a name, and we stick to the text logo tagline that the default has set for us, and we will then preview that. Okay, open link in new tab, and we can see that it now says the logo there for us, text logo, and there will be a middle menu once we further set that up. On the other hand, let's leave that text logo there and we select style 6. Then we come over here, we click refresh. What we'll find is now there's no logo. So at this point, if we're using any of these styles, and like I said, I would use the default style more times, we'd come over here and let's just take a logo that I've got set up already for the site, and insert into post, and now we'll be able to see that. Boom, there's that logo, and that's another way to go about setting up your site. Now more recently, I like to use text logos, and when you use text logos, you can play about with the theme fonts over here, as I'll be showing you very shortly. Okay, but let's take these step by step. So the header styles is just how the top part looks of your site. Then the top bar is a menu that goes above your header menu. So this is one menu, but you can then have another menu right at the top over there. That's what the top bar is. Most times I disable that, we don't really use that. Then the main menu, will be creating the menu in further lessons. We'll come back here and select that there, and that menu will then appear over here. Then we have our logo and favicon. You can insert image logo over here, favicon over here, ensure that it's 16 by 16. Now to create a favicon, very straightforward. If we come over to favicon generate or creator, we can then use a site just like this one here, and we can insert an image and it will convert into favicon. Or on the other hand, we go to favicon.io and we can create a favicon right over here. So we can then come here, alright, LRH Love Read Health. We can change the font, for example, let's say we're using Lato, okay, and we can decrease the font size so it fits in that square that we see over there. Let's make that 50. Let's say we don't want it rounded off, we want it to be a circle. Great, we can play around with the color too. Okay, we want, let's say we want the white text, but we want a pink background. That's that. Great, we download that, we can save it, we just gotta host it somewhere, or we can upload it directly into our WordPress site on these dimensions, and that's that. It will then be installed and it will appear on this corner over here. Our favicon will then be presented. This is the text logo, as we previously talked about. Now the logo for mobile, you don't necessarily need to upload a logo in here, because what you've already uploaded inside this section will be optimized to display on mobile as it is. Sign and join iOS bookmarklet options that we did not use. The footer, once again, you have different styles. You can go through these and select your ideal style. Most commonly, the sites we build out and the sites we run ourselves, we use style 1. Now style 5 is also nice, it's all centered, so you put the logo in the middle, a description underneath, and nothing else is then presented in the style, meaning there's no content presented. However, if you're using style 1, you can see in the middle on the right side there are previews of content that you publish to your site, so that your whole site is just filled with content wherever you look, even down to the footer. Now the footer is always used, so make sure to keep that on. Instagram settings, you can show an Instagram section. I've never used this setting before because there's not really much need. Then the footer info content, once again, insert your footer logo over here. Okay, and you know, if you focus on SEO, you know a little about it, you can then write what you need to your alt text in here about your logo and the title. Then you insert your footer text over here, so the description that will go beneath your logo, and here you can set an email address. And finally, we can present our social icons. But to actually show our social icons, we would have to go to social networks and insert our social links, and then they will be presented in our footer thanks to this feature over here. If we turn that off, then no matter if we put links in the social networks, those links will not be presented. Then we have a footer background over here. We can insert a footer background image. And a good thing we can do is people would waste time going on Photoshop and dimming their background images. But instead we can just set a background opacity over here so that we don't have to go on Photoshop and dim the image. Now I'm going to try and give you an example of that. So if we come inside my downloads, okay, and we look for some background images, okay, something big. I see this over here. Let's select this for a second, okay, and we give that a moment. Like I said, you got a newly hosted site, it's not optimized for speed just yet, so you upload that right there and give that a moment, and then we'll insert into post. Now that's inserted, if we just save settings and we view our site, we can see how bad that is going to look. Of course, right now that's not optimized to fill the whole footer, but now it is, okay. And of course this isn't a good definition image. You wouldn't be using such an image on your background. You'd obviously get a better you know, more high definition image, and it would be of greater size, you know, high dimensions, and you would plug that in there. But of course if it had its original colors, it wouldn't look that great, it would stand out too much. So we can then come in here, we can set a background opacity. We could do that as 0.5 even, and click save settings. And now we refresh, and you can see how it goes a bit more dim. Okay, we go to 0.8, and you can see how it gone bright. Okay, so if we bring that right down to 0.2 for example, and refresh one last time, we can see that it's very dim, and you can just see a bit of the image under there. And to me, even though it's a low quality image, that looks alright. But once again, like I said, you'd play around with that, test different images, test different opacity, and you plug that in there. A lot of times the image won't fit on auto, you may have to select full width. Don't really use repeat, you know, never really repeat the image, it doesn't look great. And leave that as that, save settings. But for now, I'm going to remove that because that's not the image I'll be using. And then sub footer settings is just like we mentioned on the top menu. So this is the header menu, and above is a top bar. With the footer, we have the footer, but then we can have a sub footer menu right here. And in here, we'll be inserting our legal pages. So once I show you how to set up your legal pages, you'll go further, create a footer menu, and that will be inserted right here through this section over here. And you'd come here, footer menu, select your footer menu, and over here, copyright text, you just write the name of your brand. So Love Read Health 2019, for example. Click refresh, and that will be presented right there. Great stuff. And now we'll go over to ads. Ads is something we won't be worrying about yet. We will start to insert our ads once we get approval from publishing networks, from the likes of Google AdSense. Moving further, template settings. This is something you can play about with, something I never really touch. I leave everything as it is under this section. The category is just how each category page is presented. So when you click on a category, that will be inserted in your menu over here. How will that page look? Okay, you can play around with the templates over here. And then when you click on a category, how will your post under that category be presented? You can play around with that over here using the previews, and once you have content published, you can actually see how that will look. And then finally, your article display view throughout, further down that page, how will your articles be presented? Once again, you can play with that over here, and everything else is nothing for you to really worry about. Moving further, we've got our post settings. You know, over here you can decide what you want to be presented on your post. Do you want categories, tags there? Maybe you don't. Do you want the author name to be presented? Maybe you don't. But me personally, I recommend you include your author name. You give your site some character. You know, let the author kind of, you know, be heard. Let people resonate with the author and not just so it seems as generic content. Because Google doesn't really like thin content these days, and they don't like to see, you know, generic content. They want to see more valuable, custom tailored content, and that is the way of getting your approval. Do you want to show post views? Do you want to show how much traffic is coming over to the article? You know, the tags, the author box. Okay, maybe you want to show the author name, but you don't want to show the author box where it gives all the details about the author. Should it recommend and show the next and previous posts? Maybe you don't want that. You can play with all of that over here, and these settings below are things that I don't really mess about with. You can play with the featured image. Do you want to show your featured image on your post? And most likely you don't, and so you would cancel that out. Click Save Settings. Now quickly, I just want to touch on that. When you show a featured image, what will happen is you have your featured image for your article, and that's normally presented on the front of your site or wherever it will be presented. Then you'll click on that image, it'll take you to the article. But if you show featured image, it will show that featured image at the start of your article. And if you have an image on that first page of your article already, then you're just going to have two images, pointlessly, no need. So I recommend you remove the featured image from here. The rest of it, once again, no need to worry about. Block settings, something I don't worry about. Background, if you want to add a theme background, you know, if you want to give a background to your whole site, you can do that right over here. Except, once again, something I've never touched before. Translations, once again, something I don't play with. Theme colors, now this is where you can get technical. Okay, this is where you got to spend a lot of time and work out how you want your site to look. Of course, if you use a demo, it has these things pre-decided for you, and that makes life a tad bit easier. So when we change our theme accent color, it will change this over here across our whole site. Wherever we will find these little, you know, overlines, underlines, it will edit that out for us and give us a new color. So if, for example, right now it's blue, we set that to red, click Save Settings, and all of a sudden we will find that this goes red. Okay, you can play with that, and throughout this whole thing there's a lot of different settings. You can play with them and set different colors throughout your site. Okay, then we have our theme fonts, and you can play with different fonts presented in different places. So on your header, you could have it present a different font. On your post title, present a different font, and your post content, present a different font. And your pages, maybe a different font. But really and truly, you don't want to have different fonts everywhere. That'll be pure shambles, won't look good, and will reduce your brand attention. So make sure you keep it consistent, use readable fonts, and just because they look nice to you, they probably aren't so great to the readers. So stick to the, you know, time-tested general fonts that we've been seeing our whole lives. If we go to the content, they already have them listed out for us. The likes of Adana, Helvetica, Baskerville, you know, Geneva, Georgia, all these, they're preset over here. It's best to use fonts like this. If you do want to get a bit fancy with it, you can go through the hundreds of fonts that they have inserted in here. Okay, and then per different style of heading, you can use a different font. Now you gotta get creative with this. I'm not gonna spend a lesson on just selecting fonts, because there is no right font. It's just how you want it to look and what you think will suit your market the best. Custom code, there's never really any custom code to add unless you're one of those techies. Then most certainly come inside here and play around with this section. Analytics, once we set up our Google Analytics, we will take our code and insert it over here. Our social networks, what we talked about before, we can insert our social links over here, click Save Settings, and then they will display on the, you know, like the likes of the footer menu or anywhere else we enabled that setting. Okay, and then this, once again, CPT and taxonomy is something I've never taken a look at. And import and export is if you have any previous, you know, theme settings. Okay, if you've set up a newspaper or news mag site before, you can take the theme settings, like from here, or say export theme setting, you can take this code and we can plug it in another site, okay, or the other way around, we could take another site's code, plug it in here, import theme settings, and that's it. It will set up our site based on the settings of a previously built site. Now that's your theme panel in a nutshell. If you need any further support regarding the theme, now that you've activated your theme, hopefully you can then come to support and you can reach out. Okay, you can go on the support forum, you can use the video tutorials they provide, or you can go deeper into their documentation. So you can, you know, customize the theme and your site to whatever standards. There's so much you can do, there's so many functionalities, and there's a whole load of support to go with that, so you never get confused and lost. And if there's anything regarding the training that you find wrong or you didn't understand, then make sure to reach out to our support. Now that's me, Abdullah Ashraf, for this lesson, and I look forward to catching you on the next